In the previous video, we discussed the plot of the story The Knight's Tale by Geoffrey Chaucer. We discussed how King Theseus, the Duke of Athens, conquered a lot of kings and dukes, how he conquered the king of Amazons and also the king of Thebes, Creon. And then he conquered the king of Amazon and took his wife Hippolyta and then the maiden Emily. We also discussed the fight between Arcite and Palamon and how Palamon eventually got the hand of Emily in marriage. The plot is very, very interesting. And if you have not listened and watched the video on the plot analysis, please search through the channel. You will get the video and watch, and make sure you subscribe to this channel so that you can be notified anytime another video is uploaded. In this video, we'll be looking at the characters in the story, and in the next video again we'll be looking at the themes and the literary devices used in the story. So please make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so that you will be updated, you will be notified anytime another video is uploaded. And we have a lot of characters in this story. We have the king of Athens, which is Theseus. We have Palamon, we have Arcite, we have Hippolyta, we have Emily, we have Peritius, which is also a duke. We have Emeritus, the king of India, and then we have Liturgy, the king of Thrace. We have many characters in this story, but we'll be looking at the main characters and then the roles they play. So let's start with King Theseus, who is the noble king of Athens. He's one of the powerful kings at that time, and then he's a conqueror who has conquered a lot of other kingdoms, like Creon, the king of Thebes, and the king of Amazon, in which he took his wife Hippolyta, and the maiden Emily followed them. So he is a very kind king and a compassionate king, because when he was returning from Amazon, he met a group of noble women on the road crying, seeking for his help so that the dead body of their husband will be returned to them for burial. He was moved with compassion, and then instead of returning home with his new wife Hippolyta, he ordered Hippolyta and Emily to go to Athens, and then he followed the women to Thebes with his armies. And then he warred against the king of Thebes, Creon, and then he conquered him, and he released the dry body of the husband to the widows for burial. It was during that fight that Palamon and Arcite, who were also knights in Thebes kingdom, got wounded, and the scavenger was able to get to know of it, in which both of them were taken to prison in Athens. So for the plot of that story, please listen and watch the previous video. So he is a very good king, and he's also a forgiving king. There are several instances where he forgives. For instance, he forgave Arcite and Palamon when he met them in the group fighting, and Hippolyta and Emily petitioned or requested him to forgive them. He forgave them. Even when Arcite died, he wept uncontrollably. And then he was also happy with Palamon that he married Emily. So me, I think he's a very good king. Then let's look at Hippolyta, who is the queen of the Amazon, and then later became the queen of the Athens. Why? Because the husband was killed in a fierce battle, and then Theseus took her as a new bride. Okay? Then she came to Athens and became a queen also. The story begins with her falling in love with Theseus, and then she also loved Theseus very well, and then she is married to Theseus. Then is a loving queen, behaving well in the Athens also, and then one of her major concerns is to please her husband Theseus, and then she was happy that she got married to Theseus. Then we have another character in the story, Emily. Emily is the object of contention in the play. In fact, the whole conflict revolves around her or around her love. Because Palamon and Arcite got into fight because of who will get Emily's small hand in marriage. So Emily also wanted to remain as a maiden. That was why she entered the temple of Diana, the god of chastity and purity, and pleaded with the god that she preserve her purity. She want to remain as a maiden and as a virgin. But no, the god of Diana told her that one of the men fighting for her love must marry her, which is either Palamon or Arcite. But we saw at the end of the plot that Palamon eventually got married to Emily. Then we saw that it's also an epitome of beauty, and then she's well behaved. Let's look at another character in the play. We have Arcite, one of the a man fighting for the love of Emily in the story. We saw that Palamon fought his brother cousin, a cousin brother Palamon. Sorry, Arcite fought his cousin brother Palamon severely just to get the hand of Emily in marriage. Even though they were staying in prison in Athens at that time, both of them have already fell in love with this beautiful Emily. I wish I could get Emily also. So, but I know I will not be able to fight any one of these, either Arcite or Palamon, to be able to win Emily in a duel in such a manner. So, we saw that they started having disagreement. Arcite started having disagreement with the brother Palamon as a result of the love for Emily. Then Arcite is a brave young man. He was able to disguise himself and bear another name called Philostrate, and work as a laborer, a domestic staff in Athens for several years before the king got to know through the revelation by Palamon. And Palamon is also a brave, strong man who also desires to marry Emily. And then he also made sure he sacrificed everything to get the love of Emily by fighting his cousin Arcite. He was in prison, and then he drug the jailer, the men taking care of the prison, and he escaped, hiding in a grove before Arcite eventually came to the grove also, and then a disagreement ensued between them when he leaped out and confronted Arcite for betraying him. Okay? Then we have other characters. Peroteus is also a duke, and is a friend of both Theseus and Arcite. And then he was the one who petitioned King Theseus to release Arcite from prison. We have Venus, the god of beauty and god of love. And before the battle started, this is the god that Palamon consulted to grant him victory over Arcite. Mars, another character, is also the god of war in the story. And then we saw that Arcite asked for victory, prayed to the god of Mars to grant him victory over his cousin Palamon. And then we saw that both the temple of Palamon and both the temple of Mars and Venus were well decorated before the war started. And then Diana, the god of chastity and purity, it is a god that the temple was well decorated with the symbols of virginity everywhere. And we saw that Emily also went to the temple and prayed that Diana should grant her chastity and purity, protect her. She doesn't want to get married. She wants to stay as a virgin and as a maiden. Then Diana told or revealed to her that no, she has to marry one of the men fighting for her love in marriage. Saturn is the father of the gods, is the ultimate judge, the father of Venus and Mars in the story. And he's a great judge who settles the dispute between Venus and Mars, and he also wishes fortune. He decrees good and bad. He is the ultimate judge, the spring god in this story. Okay, now these are the characters in the story, and then in the next video we are going to be discussing the themes and the literary devices used in the novel. So please subscribe to this channel so that you will get notified when the other videos are uploaded. Thank you and thank you.